Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Benjamin Shipper and I'm a cartoonist, a writer and artist for comic books and graphic novels. This is my first book, Joe Death and the Graven Image, and it will be coming out next year, March 2023. And I'm so excited for it to be out, for you to read it. And it's my take on kind of the classic Grim Reaper story and what a personified death feels and thinks, and how he interacts with this new world. I have done a lot of world building for this book. It exists in its own mythology, and that's one of the things I'm most excited about going further in next books with this character. But that won't happen unless this book sells well, I'm sure. So so please pre-order this if you can. And look for it next year, March 2023. I will be, of course, sharing this again when it is published and when I have copies myself. But the pre-orders do help. So if you want to go to Amazon or Walmart.com or Barnes & Nobles, it is available for pre-order. Though on Amazon, there are a few pages that are preview pages. Those are actually the wrong version. So I've done a few versions of this book, and Amazon has not been updated yet. So if you want to look closer at this book, go to my website, benjaminshipper.com, and check out this. I've got a few of the correct preview pages there. But one of the things I love doing on this channel is showcasing cartoonists and writers and books that I love that are personally inspiring to me. And Christophe Blain, as an artist and writer, is one of those for me. He is a French artist, and he is just a blast to look at. His work is just a blast to read and look at, and it's so raw, especially this book. There's just something so charming once you get past a little bit of the I don't know, there's something in American comics that want to kind of push the envelope towards realism, at least in a lot of big comics today, like Star Wars franchise or Marvel, or a lot of the big franchise books are trying to look more and more like movies, it feels like a lot of times. This is not that, and that is why I love Christophe Blain's work. And this is the Speed Abater. I really kind of just want to talk about his work as an artist, and I'm not going to be able to go through the story because it is bigger, and I just don't have time. So I will talk about him a little bit more, but these are the books that I kind of found him through, which are collaborations between different writers and artists. And I found this in New York City when I was living there, but I love his just really clear stylization of characters, and the breadth of everything here. I mean, you look at any page of his and it's just exciting. It's just fun seeing how he draws stairs, how this character moves around this world, how many little creative pieces there are. This crowd scene, which is a bunch of small people. I mean, a cat, and all these anthropomorphic characters interacting in kind of real world settings a little bit for this book, but romance, but just so popping, the colors help it really pop, but the design is there. The design is everywhere in Christophe's work. Really clear movement and body language, and so fun, action everywhere, action, intrigue, personal problems. It's a lot of the writing is very I don't even know how to describe it, but it's fun, I come away from a lot of these books thinking like, I don't really know if I identify or if I feel affection for any of these characters. I certainly like the art, and it's a fun read, but I actually don't necessarily feel a lot of affection for some of these characters, because it isn't really romantic. It's kind of anti-romantic in a certain way, but the drawing is so good, and I'm just gushing. I'm gushing. But it just gets better too. Like there's this page where I think is on Pinterest a lot. Like it's kind of a famous one because it's kind of wordless, and it's really, you don't need anything else but, you know, him getting his costume on, running down the roofs of buildings, showing up at his lover's window, and just the graphic quality of like of this book, or of this image, was gripping. I think I saw that and I was like, I have to buy as many books as I can from this guy, and that isn't many because it's kind of hard to find his work in America. But all to say, his work is great. And if you can find this book, this is, I think, his earliest book. It's called The Speed Abater. It's about sailors, sailor life on a ship. And his drawing is so raw, especially in these first pages. It's just so raw. Like, you know, he might know perfect perspective. He might have a great eye for that and an ability to draw it, but he doesn't waste it on us. He draws in a very impressionistic style, and it's, you know, what I'm getting is just like a need to go, you know, just going and drawing and creating the flow of the story. And I think that he's providing like emotional information here. Like we see these kind of iconic spikes and just points and everything. It is, you know, they're going down into industry here. And so we get that emotional information without like being hung up on like technical information, which I think is details. And there are details here, and I think they're very well placed, but they're not consuming me as a reader. Like I can follow the characters and I can feel the places that they're in, but I'm never kind of like hung up on like just wanting to stare at them and analyze everything about the settings, which sometimes is nice, but for this, it's very I don't know if it's a personal story, but it's very much contained in a small kind of character viewpoint, and this character kind of wants to go on an adventure. He's a little bit of an intellectual. He wants to sort of see the world, and I feel like I should talk about the story, but I really don't have time. But I just want to flip through this work and just, you know, share his work to some degree, and just point out stuff like the limited color. It's so well designed. There's something about, I guess less is more is the thing that a lot of people say, but more design. Like it seems like you know, when you're taking out like the need to have gradients or just overburden the reader with color. It's fantastic the way it's stripped down. So we get different perspectives, different characters, dream sequences, which are really fantastic. I love those, and I love how iconic his drawing is. You know, it's just so it's so clear, but odd, and I think that oddness provides interest. I mean, this kind of stuff all over the place, where it's you know, this Marine, you know, he's gonna have that boot up the sailor's ass, and you know, he knows it. So it's really clear, like it's clear acting. Like everything about his work, I think, is very clear, but not boring. And it's just a wonderful thing to see characters acting and being emotive, and being so wild in their motions. And it's a cartoon, but which is the art. The art side is kind of very cartoony and expressive, but the characters themselves actually talk and interact like humans would. A little bit like Wes Anderson characters, a little bit, maybe not so much, but I find it really really amazing when one author can write as if they're, write other characters, so there is that in this book. And all these characters feel like they have their own identity, their own agency, their own past and history. This mechanic guy has kind of find out how to live on the ship by making this little berth for himself. I always love warm scenes like this. You gather around a light, and you're just swapping stories, smoking some cigarettes. And they get into trouble, so they're going down in the ship to sort of escape the rocking waves, and because they've gotten sick, and they're just going down into the bowels of the ship, and they get into trouble. This writer drops his pencil sharpener into the gears and grinds everything to a halt. They're taken for kind of like saboteurs, even though they're just bumbling intellectuals. And it all shakes out, but you feel the tension at this moment where it's like, it's a personal kind of a crucible, I feel like, for these characters, because they're individuals, and I think that maybe it's a commentary on the bigger machine that they're all part of. We're all part of society. I wax eloquent about like what ships are, but that's kind of the symbol of what a ship is, or the metaphor. It's civilization, and we're all in it together, floating on the waves, but we're also all individuals inside it. And so how we interact with each other is interesting and sometimes frightful. This is a dream sequence, really fun, like really clear, running. Like I've definitely stolen his way of drawing feet and shoes in my own comic. And it's just fantastic, silhouettes at times, just dropping detail when he needs to drop it almost completely. It's a real masterclass. Like, you can buy these books. I don't think they're expensive. And this is a gorgeous size. It's about like a foot, 12 inches tall, probably about 10 wide, and really, really well worth the money. So that's all. I wish I could spend more time, but my time is getting more and more limited as I grow up, as my child grows up, as I have less time, and as I need to draw my own comics. So I will leave it at that. I will say I am going to be at Cartoon Crossroads in Columbus, Ohio, this October 6th through 9th. And if anyone's been to that show, I've been once, and it's an awesome show. And I'll be there this year. So look for me there. Unfortunately, I won't have printed books of Joe Death, but I will have some merchandise there. I'm thinking some book plates, maybe some character designs that I'll print out and sell there. But do stop by, say hello, and support comics and support writers and artists that you like. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you later.